Okay, so in this video, we're going to recreate this tic-tac-toe board exercise from scratch. So we're going to start from the very beginning with an empty file. I called mine board.html. Going to add in our boilerplate. Just going to call it TTT board. And the way that this works, just to jog your memory, it's a table. This whole thing is a table. It has 3 rows, 1, 2, and 3. And then each row has 3 TDs. So we end up with a 3x3 board. And then what we'll do is go in, and on these 3 TDs, we're going to turn the left and right border on. And then on these 3, we're going to turn the top and bottom border on. So we need to start with our table, and then 3 TRs. And I'm actually going to go and do 3 TRs and do the TDs first. So we get 3 TDs, and then I'm just going to duplicate that. Once more. Now we have our 3 rows with 3 elements or 3 TDs in each one. So we'll save that. And if we open this in the browser, you'll notice that we don't see a thing. And that's because even though our table is there, first of all, there's nothing in our table. And then also we don't have any styles applied, because it is possible to have an empty table and still see things, which is actually what this is here. There's no data in these tables. In this example here, it's just a table, and then it's styled so that it has a width and it has a border. So we need to do that. So just to prove to you though that it's here, let's add some style, and I'm going to do it in a style tag this time, which you should know by now is not a great idea in the long run. But just for a solution video, just for the ease of watching here so you don't have to watch me flip between files and get confused about what goes where, I'm just going to do it in one file here at the top in a style tag. So the first thing I'm going to do is just select the TDs and give them a width. And that's because right now, if we inspected the TDs, you would see that they are basically not there at all. They're 2 pixels by 2 pixels, so they're really, really small, and that's because there's nothing there and we haven't assigned them a width or a height. So what I want to do is give them a width, and we're going to start with 100 pixels, and then we're going to do the same thing for height. And we save and refresh, and we still don't see anything. And again, that's because we haven't given them anything to display. But if we go and inspect now, we can see each TD is now a square 100 by 100 pixels. So let's go and give them a background just so you can see that they're there. Let's say background is pink, save, and now we can see we have the beginnings of our board. So I'm actually going to undo that background color. I just wanted to show you that the tiles are there. We have our TDs. And now what we need to do is figure out how to selectively turn on the border. So we're going to start on these 3 elements. We want to turn on the left and the right border. So if I refresh the page, so let's start by taking this top one right here and giving it a left and a right border. So I'm going to go, and that's the second TD instead of the first TR. And I'm just going to give it a class. And I'm just going to call this one vertical. And I'm going to make a class for these 3 called vertical, where we just give the left and right borders. So class equals vertical, and then over here, we're going to select vertical and just give it a border left. Whoops. And let's do 1 pixel black for now. And do the same thing for border right. And if we save and we refresh, you'll see we have the first square completed. So now we need to add the TD that's below it and the TD that's below that. And that's why I made it a class, because we're going to use it more than once. So rather than making this an ID and then doing another ID for this element and another ID for this one, which I totally could have done. I could have done something like ID middle, and then this one would be ID middle bottom or something. Well, I couldn't have a space there, but something like that. That's actually not a great idea. We don't want to have multiple IDs, so I'm just going to give it a class, and then our class is vertical. So I'm going to give it to this one as well. This is our middle element that's right below it. And then the other one, which is below that. So those three now have class vertical. And you can see we get our 3 vertical lines. So now we just need to repeat the same process on the horizontal lines. And so we want this element here, this one here, and this one here to have a border top and a border bottom. So this time I'm going to start with the class, and I'm going to call it horizontal. And I'm just going to copy this, except change border left to border top and border bottom. And then all we need to do is assign this horizontal class to the correct elements. So the ones that we want that to be on are this one right here. So this is going to be the first TD in the second TR. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. Class equals horizontal. I'm going to copy that. Then we want it in this middle one here. And you'll see we already have a class vertical. And we haven't actually seen this before where we have more than one class. It's really easy. All we do is add a space. So this is not one class called vertical horizontal. It is 2 vertical and also horizontal. And then we'll do the same thing to this last TD, which would be this one here. And if we save and we refresh the page, we now have our completed tic-tac-toe board. So the very last thing that I want to do here is just move this over so that it's centered. And that's actually really easy. It's just one line of CSS on our table. We're going to give it a margin of auto. And there we go. That margin is automatically computed. You can see as I as I resize the window, that margin is increasing and decreasing. And then one last thing, if we wanted to add that H1 in at the very top, that just says tic-tac-toe, you can do that. But you'll notice that this element, if I inspect it, well, you can see without even inspecting it that it's all the way over on the side. So if I want it to go in the middle, the element actually takes up all the way across the screen. You can see this blue here. So I can just center the text, and that will give us the effect that the H1 is actually in the middle. So I just go select H1, text align, center, and I save, and there we go. We've got a tic-tac-toe board.